Okay, guys, we can go ahead and get started. Thanks everybody for coming. Thanks everybody online. I'm Dr. Dani Pizzella, and we're going to start with presentations about some different ways we can apply OBM and some different types of cool applications. We have a bunch of different really neat.
Well, I'm just going to dive in. I'm Dr. Adam Hahs. I am Chief Science Officer at Hopebridge Autism Therapy Centers. Today I'm going to be presenting on ABA and OBM. You all are joining an exciting contingent and an exciting time in behavior analysis where there's real ripe opportunity for movement in the space. So just real quickly, if you can't come off mute, or Dani, maybe if you can speak up, how many people are enrolled or considering? Is this a new contingent of enrollees at Webster University? A little bit of background on who I'm speaking with and to whom.
These are it's a brand new program starting in the fall, so these would be brand new students.
All right, exciting. Well, I'll give you a little bit of my background and then kind of jump in because I know we're time sensitive here. My background is behavior analysis, as you might have gathered. I got my master's and doctorate from SIU Carbondale in Carbondale, Illinois, under Mark Dixon a long time ago. But without further ado, I will jump in and talk a little bit about the trajectory that you'll be on now having joined this program. So let's see if I can advance the slide here. All right. And make it full screen. No. 1 second. All right. Okay. You can see this now, yes? No? Maybe? All right, so the BACB, the Behavior Analyst Certification Board, takes data as we do in our science. And in that data, we get to see that as this is fresh, hot off the press data, there are over 75,000 BCBAs, board certified behavior analysts, where we get to do a lot of work with individuals who are in need of those services. About 80% of that work happens in the space of autism. And there are other subsets of applications in behavior analysis to which it can be applied. We'll talk a little bit about those and hyper focus on organizational behavior management, but you are in good company, right? You're pursuing a degree that has a lot of opportunity, not only concurrently with your education, but on the other side of the degree, you'll be able to go out, get a high-paying job for a company that values your work, okay? I'm going to tell a story, and I like telling stories, but this one's about a scorpion, a table, and gravity. So in 1934, at a Harvard Society for Fellows dinner, a guy by the name of Alfred North Whitehead made a statement. And the statement was, "No black scorpion is falling upon this table." Now, where in the world does that come from? Well, the individual that he was speaking to was a guy called B.F. Skinner. You may have heard of him. I don't know. B.F. Skinner is kind of the father of behavior analysis, and Whitehead made that statement because he wanted to better understand how Skinner, a proponent of operant conditioning, might explain how he came up with this quote-unquote random statement at this dinner. Skinner took 23 years to write a response to that. And he did so through the book called Verbal Behavior that he published in 1957, which was an account of how people engage in language and why they do, not just the content of the statements that they make, but why they make statements, right? What are their functions, or how do they operate on the environment? This was a cutting edge, kind of new way to think about why people behaved in such a way, because the predominant overarching theories were largely cognitively based. Okay. So fast forward a little bit, a quick show of hands. How many of you have gotten better at something through practice? Just regular practice on a day-to-day basis. Probably everybody's hand should go up. Okay. Next question. How many of you have characteristics of your behavior from your relatives? Maybe your eyes, or maybe the way you talk, your cadence, maybe you have a southern drawl, right? And how many of you have followed laws or social mores, rules that then maybe changed over time? Everybody, right? The interesting thing is Skinner was seeing around the curve of what was coming. And he did so through what's called selection by consequences, a paper that he authored almost 30 years after the date on which he published Verbal Behavior. Now, why does this matter, right? Well, I think if there are different levels of selection at which individuals engage in behavior and different pressures about why they do so, then it's probably pretty important that we have a well-rounded description of how that comes to be. Okay. Skinner did it through a paper called Selection by Consequences in 1981. And guess what? You did it. You now have the entirety of what Skinner called selection by consequences that highlight the ways in which we come to have behavior in our repertoire. More specifically, we targeted the individual level, what he calls ontogeny. We targeted behavior at the species level, respective of genetic implications, called phylogeny, and then behavior at the societal level. Okay. And the importance of the last is what we'll hyper-focus on today, and that has cultural implications. If you're wondering, yes, I used ChatGPT to curate this lovely picture of Burris Frederick Skinner on the right. And guess what? Because you now know all the things about 1981 selection by consequences, you get to put your face there. Right? So the question then becomes, what if we took a look at the behavior of the individuals, but scaled it up to organizations? And that's the exciting part of the program now that you're entering into. Okay. So you might be asking, let me pause this. What is a contingency? Right? Contingencies that talk, meaning contingencies that have what are called interlocking contingencies with other contingencies, give us a way to talk about organizational behavior. Okay. And a contingency in and of itself is how a behavior relates to what came before it and what comes after it. And in behavior analysis, we call this an antecedent behavior and consequence relation, or a three-term contingency. Okay. Now, interestingly, a lady by the name of Sigrid Glenn in 1988, 7 years after Skinner's selection by consequences, talked about interlocking contingencies, or when your behavior is linked to another person's behavior that might then be linked to another person's behavior, and so on. And so I give you this example, and I'll start the video in just a second, and then I'll get out of your way. But an example of a rule given to a group of drivers in Japan, and they were given a single rule: drive X speed limit in this circle and see what happens. And what do you think happens? Well, let me see. Is it playing on your end or no? No, you can't see that, can you? Or maybe you can. Watch what happens as people like this white car start to slow down. They're all given the same rule. For example, go in this circle at 20 miles an hour. And I think rather than watch the remaining 30 seconds, you can just see that each individual's behavior has an implication and reaction or response to the next person's behavior, suggesting that there is something bigger than just the behavior of one that the science of applied behavior analysis talks about, but that there are these interlocking contingencies, and that video is exemplary of those interlocking contingencies. Okay. Next. So you might be asking, why should I care? All right, why, Adam, in the world would this matter to me? And I realize them over time, but I'm going to ask the people who are there in person and those joining online, what if you were a spark? What if you were a spark to the people who are joining your cohort, to the members that you'll get to work with as part of the behavior analytic community? Let me scale that up. What if you had a leadership style that people gravitated towards? So in your time in this program, however long it might take you, how do you foster those skills through the texts you read and through the experiences you have with some really bright people from whom you can learn a lot? And what if you could set up systemic practices that increased organizational efficiencies? That's kind of at the root of it all, what OBM is about. But interestingly, it's not as cold and maybe mechanistic as some of the soft skills that I think you'll do well to bring into your repertoire in your training. So I'm going to create an offerings, so to speak. What if you spent time creating a context of what being kind looked like as an organizational value? Okay. What if being kind was the goal? And everyone in your organization or the people with whom you get to work were able to define it. In behavior analysis, we call this an operational definition. And what if everyone was charged with recognizing it? We call this tacting or labeling something. And what if everyone could celebrate it? And we call this reinforcement when and only when being kind increases. And what if everyone feels better as a function of being kind as a value gets reverberated through the culture of your organization? We call this covert verbal behavior. And what if, as a function of quote unquote being kind, which we've operationally defined, we're able to tact and label this, we provide reinforcement for its emission, and we feel better. What if everyone was more resilient as a clinician because of it? We call this psychological flexibility in behavior analysis. And most importantly, out of all this, what if you were the catalyst for others behaving in service of being kind? And let that sit for a second. What if you were that catalyst? That's what I hope for. And the people who are going to be your mentors and your professors, I assure you they would echo that sentiment, that that is what makes our science beautiful. Okay. So my point or an offering as kind of a parting gift or suggestion. Anyone ever had someone do something that although they may not have recognized it in the moment, it changed your entire day? Maybe not just a day, but maybe a week, a year, or even more. Anybody had that experience? Okay. And what I know, if there's one thing that I know, this is what I know. A smile costs nothing. And it could change people's lives in a way that you'll never know. Right? A 2025 Gallup poll found a couple things around mentorship and supervision practices. They found that people want to be around others who, number one, make them feel valued. Okay? Feels good to be wanted. It feels good for your opinion to be solicited and sought out, right? Two, There's a correlation between their work and the outcomes. Okay. So you did this. Here's what resulted, right? That's really powerful. Number three, the third most important thing is that they are part of a larger effort of good, that they get to contribute in service of doing and being good for others. And so I'll leave you with a commonly known quote, but one that gets overlooked quite often. Be the change you wish to see in the world. It starts with you. It can and will scale up to others with whom you get to work. It'll be catalyzed by your professors, by your mentors, and by the people with whom you get to work. And that is why OBM has such a foothold in the science of ABA, because it gives us an opportunity to scale applied behavior analysis to places that we've only scratched the surface of. So thank you for your time. I will turn it back over to Dr. Dani, and I appreciate you all letting me come chat with you today. Thanks.
Another round of applause for Maddie. And now we're going to turn it over to Madiline Burke, and she's going to tell us about some practical applications of OBM. So take it away.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Madeline Burke. I am the Director of Patient Experience at one of Mercy's hospitals, and I actively get to practice OBM in that role. So a couple questions for you all. How many of you all have worked in an organization that needed some kind of process or performance change? How many? That is typical what people call performance improvement or process improvement. That is what I'm trying to change within patient experience in my role and what OBM brings to the table. Because typical performance improvement puts in place a policy, takes data on it, and that's just kind of where it ends. It might tweak it a little bit, but they don't involve the human perspective on it. OBM looks at the human perspective. It looks at what behaviors are people engaging in around that policy or the change you want to make. What is motivating the people? And every person on that team might have a different motivation. So it's very, very complex. And then it's also what in the environment is influencing the behavior change you want to see. So for example, one thing I've been working on is getting nurses and doctors to round on patients together. I've got 6 nurses on a floor and 2 doctors rounding on each floor. That is a bunch of people I am having to work with together to create behavior change. So I've had to work with each team to figure out what in the environment is creating barriers around making that change. What is going to motivate each team of people to make that change? And then how do we sustain that change? What consequences and reinforcement do we need to build in to make sure that it works? Because we've rolled this out before and there was no consequence, there was no reinforcement. So we did it for 2 weeks and then it fizzled out. Because that's what the typical, what they call Lean Six Sigma, does. It just kind of, there's no, hey, good job, here's something to, really cheer you on and do that. So we're trying to change the mold and break the mold on that to make it a system where we make lasting change. And when you do that, you change the entire culture of an organization. Your staff become more engaged in what they're doing, and then you have better employee satisfaction and better customer satisfaction in the end. This isn't unique to a hospital. It could be done in any business. So I've also talked to colleagues in other hospitals who work in other roles, some in quality. So they do a lot of the process changes for hygiene, for your safety and regulation roles, which is the plan, do, check, act. Well, they do it a couple times and they see it work, and then people will start to drift, meaning they start, if they're supposed to wash their hands in and out of the room, they might just start washing their hands in the room. And they slowly drift to where they may not be doing that. And if a surveyor came in and saw you not wash your hands, you're going to be in really big trouble. And the whole hospital is going to be affected. So we're starting to work on how can we do this and involve the whole team to make sure that we're creating that lasting behavior change and lasting culture change. We're bringing people of each team in also to help plan so that it's not people just handing down, hey, here's a policy, do it. Because we all know that doesn't work. We're trying to make exciting changes using OBM, really figuring out what are those motivators, where are environmental barriers that are happening. Some of the barriers we found are staffing. Some is time and time blocks between med pass, rounding times, things like that. And some has been communication, lack of proper communication between leadership and our front lines, not understanding the why of why we're trying to make a change. And that's another thing that OBM looks at. Regular performance improvement typically just looks at the what. What are we trying to change? OBM looks at the what, the why, the how, and the when. So it's really incorporating every single piece of an organization and how you can fix those problems. Any questions? I know that is short and sweet,
No,
but that's essentially
great.
what it is.
Really.
So-
All right, so now we're gonna change focus a little bit and we're gonna talk about some international opportunities to do some ABA. So we have a presentation from our partners in Vietnam who would like to talk about some international opportunities for behavior analysis.
Hi everyone, my name is Phuong and I got a master in clinical psychology from Vietnam National University in Hanoi. I'm currently working at Vietnam France Psychology Institute.
Hi everyone, my name is Cong. I'm currently a professor at University of Education, Vietnam National University, Hanoi. I do research, practice, and community services, and also policy advocacy for families and children with developmental disorders. I got my master and PhD degree in clinical psychology from Vanderbilt University, Nashville, Tennessee, United States, more than 10 years ago. I'm the founder and first president of the Vietnam Developmental Disorder Centers Network, or VDDN. I'm also the global senior leadership in Vietnam for INSA. INSA stands for International Society for Autism Research.
So we are both clinical psychologists in Vietnam and focus on research, assessment, and intervention for individuals with neurodevelopmental disorder, particularly is children who have autism spectrum disorder.
We are happy to be part of your lunch party today. I think it's such an interesting and valuable opportunity for all of us to share about ABA in different contexts and cultures.
Yeah, so with more than 15 years working with children who have developmental disorder and their family in Vietnam, we would like to share about prevalence of autism in Vietnam, current treatment, including ABA approaches, and what are opportunities to spread ABA in Vietnam.
First, there are little research on prevalence of autism in Vietnam. Most of them have small samples from different cities or provinces. But in general, the estimated rates of children with autism spectrum disorder in Vietnam range from 1 to 2%, similar to other Asian countries. Besides, regarding foreigners in Vietnam, there are many foreign families living and working in Vietnam. In 2020, more than 100,000 people, including workers only. Of these, there are also families that have children with ASD, but is not have been included in any study. Most of the cases we met are studying in international schools and receiving academic support through IEPs. So if you hold a BCBA certification, you can definitely come to Vietnam to work with foreign children with ASD.
Yeah, and currently treatment and support for children with ASD in Vietnam must take place at intervention center, at home, at pediatrics hospital, and in a very few schools. And the important thing is that those centers provide general special education with very little mark of ABA. Some centers and some professionals even still provide non-evidence-based practice for children.
So there's still many treatment, including one that are not based on evidence. In Vietnam, we have a popular treatment for ASD includes special education, speech therapy, behavioral therapy, sensory integration, medication, acupuncture, nutrition, stem cells, even spirituality. We all know that ABA is an evidence-based practice, safe and also effective psychotherapy for many mental disorders. And also ABA are widely used for intervention for children with ASD and other developmental disorders. ABA is most popular in early intervention for children with ASD in improving interaction and communication skills and decrease challenging and maladaptive behaviors. However, there are several reasons that prevent ABA from becoming popular and widely used in Vietnam.
Yeah, so the first thing is the low awareness and knowledge of community about autism and effective treatment. Many people still think that autism is caused by parental education, supernatural vaccine, and some still think that autism can be cured. So that's why they are easily attracted with quick therapy like acupuncture, hyperbaric oxygen therapy, and spirituality.
Secondly, related to training program, currently there are no university in Vietnam that provide official ABA training as a major. Most technicians and professionals who work with children with autism graduate from major subjects, special education, psychology, social work, pedagogy, etc. So Vietnam lacks a larger number of ABA specialists to develop behavior intervention program for children. According to statistics on the IBAA website, there are only 6 certified behavior analysts in Vietnam. This is too small number to meet the requirement from the society, the demand from the society.
Yeah, so the question is how we can spread ABA in Vietnam. Currently, what we are doing for the first phase is media and begin with group of technicians and professionals who are directly working with autistic children. For the first phase, we organize free seminar and webinar with ABA-related content like national intervention method for Vietnam, pathway to become BCBA, or ethical practice of technician, something like that through VDDN, what stands for Vietnam Developmental Network or Vietnam Developmental Disorder Center Network. This is a network including around 30 big centers providing service for autistic children. They locate in all regions of Vietnam. And besides, we also focus on students who might work with autistic children in the future from university.
In terms of education and training, we can develop a long-term and comprehensive program to support universities and other training institutions to open master program in applied behavior analysis. These programs can stand alone or maybe a branch of some master programs in special education, clinical psychology, or behavioral science. So there's still a lot of room for developing ABA in Vietnam. We need more quality human resources in ABA. We need more training, including continuing professional training and also university training that provide diplomas in ABA.
Right. So in the coming phase, we plan to develop a small program within the VDDA network with the aim of training technicians in ABA-based intervention and aim for the next goal of having annual exam. So we hope you guys can participate of technician training for technician and parent of autistic children to raise awareness and knowledge of related group.
We welcome all you coming to Vietnam for conducting research, teaching, and practicing ABA, and even for visiting the beautiful Vietnam. That's all of our presentation. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Bye.
Interested in going to Vietnam and doing anything behavior analysis related, they would love to have you. But they also would love to work with people virtually. So if there's any like training that you wanted to do or you wanted to get connected with the VDDN network, they would absolutely love to have any students, anyone who's interested, if anybody's looking for a thesis project, they want you, they're excited. So let's give them another round of. Our next presenter is Kelly. Is Kelly ready for us? Kelly, are you ready?
Hi, yes.
Kelly's going to be talking about the RBT conference. Let's see if she is ready to go.
Hi, everyone. Hi. Can everyone see me? Or I can have the camera off. Hello, I'm Kelly Baird. I am a behavior analyst, and I consider myself a space creator in the field. I'm the founder of Black Women in Behavior Analysis Appreciation Day, which is a platform and a professional space to highlight, celebrate, and empower Black women in the field of behavior analysis. We recently held our second annual conference in Orlando, which was the first in-person conference, and it was very incredible, with Black behavior analysts making up about 5% of behavior analysts, according to the BACB. It's very crucial and important to create intentional spaces where different voices, experiences, leadership, and everything in between are recognized and valued. I also serve as the vice president of ABAVerzes Block Party, and that's where we fuse entertainment and culture and fun and learning in the field of ABA. We bring ABA to life through interactive games and challenges and engaging events and conference spaces just everywhere in the field, virtually and in person. We stay connected a lot with the community through social media like Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. We're pretty much everywhere, just keeping things fun and educational and accessible. That's something that you may not have seen some years ago in the field. I think it's very innovative. Also, I am the co-founder of the ABA Collab, and that's essentially a collective uniting BMBA, that's Black men in behavior analysis, which they actually make up less than 1% of the field of behavior analysis. ABAVerzes, like I mentioned before, and Black Women in Behavior Analysis Appreciation Day. We built this inclusive space for all ABA professionals, thought leaders, and innovators. We love to connect and collaborate and celebrate excellence in the field. We do a lot of unity, impact, innovation, connections. That's what we're all about. And through the ABA Collab, we're, like mentioned before, we are launching our first annual Behavior Technician Conference. That's May 3rd. It'll be hosted virtually on Behavior University's platform. It's online. It's a full day event. It will include a keynote, panel discussions, presentations. It's all focused and centered around behavior technicians. There's also going to be a lot of fun, interactive things taking place within that conference space. And it's just going to be a really great experience. With CEU requirements for behavior technicians next year, we thought that it would be a really good starting point to create a conference and a meaningful step towards elevating their voices and supporting their professional growth. And with organizational behavior management, that plays a critical role in advancing our field because it focuses on systems and leadership and performance and sustainability. And OBM is how we can create cultures of accountability and equity and innovation. And that's exactly where my projects live with BWIBAAD, the ABA Collective, ABAVerzes, all of that. I'm focused on building intentional systems and spaces that empower professionals, elevate underrepresented voices, and also foster meaningful collaboration. And by centering the human experiences in our field, from clinicians to behavior technicians to students to caregivers, we're making ABA more effective, more inclusive, and more sustainable for the future. And also on a personal note, I'm also a mother of a non-vocal child. He's on the autism spectrum. He utilizes an AAC device. That dual parenting and professional, I'm an ABA recipient and provider. It just gives me this unique lens in the field, and it deepens my commitment to creating these more compassionate, accessible, and human-centered spaces in ABA. So I really want to thank everybody for this invite. And if anyone is interested in learning more about our conferences or our events or collaborations or any of my projects or initiatives through the ABA Collab, just feel free to connect. I'm really big on LinkedIn. I can also leave a lot of links as well. Thank you.
Let's give Kelly a round of applause. And Kelly did something awesome. She gave the entire Webster group a discount to the RBT conference. So BCBAs, RBTs, discounts. So if anybody wants to go, let's say thank you again to Kelly. Don't worry, Kelly, we'll be there. Awesome. Okay, so we're gonna kind of switch focus now, and we're gonna move over to talking about our actual programs here at Webster. So we are going to go ahead and switch to that. Can I touch this, Lindsay? Will it change?
I don't think it will change, unfortunately.
Okay, I'll let you touch.
Let me know.
No, it doesn't. Oh. Did you do that?
I did that.
Okay, so what we're gonna do first is we're gonna go through kind of meeting the leadership of the School of Ed. Unfortunately, our dean is running a few minutes late, so we'll skip over Stephanie. We'll come back to her. And then we're gonna go through meeting the faculty in the ABA program. We'll talk about our MA in ABA, our grad cert in ABA, our grad cert in OBM, our accelerated pathway for undergrads, our ABA minor, and our corporate partnerships. And then we'll have some room for questions. Sound good? Great. Okay, cool. All right, so we can go ahead to the next slide. Wrong way. Okay, we're gonna skip Stephanie, and we're gonna let Dr. Basir Rodney introduce himself. So if you wanna, he's here virtually, so if you wanna have him go, Lindsay, that'd be great.
Hello, can you hear me? Am I being heard?
I can hear you.
Oh, good. Okay. Yes. Sorry for that delay. My name is Basir Rodney, and I am serving as chair of the Department of Teacher Education. I am very happy to see a full house, both virtually and in our classroom there in Webster Groves. And I am very excited to see this launch party, not just only so well attended, but just the overall quality. I was listening to the presentations as they were going before. And it's really exciting stuff. So I'm really honored that you've taken time out of your evening to spend time with us and to learn more about our programs. The ABA is one of our very special programs in the department, and we're happy to see the energy that it's brought together and all these wonderful people from around the world that are being pulled into our Webster family because of the ABA. So I'll pass the mic to somebody else, but thank you again, and thank you for your energy, and I'm really honored to be a part of this project.
We have all the things to do. Okay, that's me. So that one's easy. I'm right here. I'm in charge of the ABA program here at Webster, and I have been in the field for over 15 years. And I started off adjuncting at Webster, and I really liked it here. I actually went here for undergrad, but in something totally unrelated, like media and film studies and journalism and environmental science. I had a lot of minors. But I went back to working with people with disabilities because it was something I was passionate about. And since then, I've worked with adults and I've worked with kids and I've worked in a lot of different settings, but kind of growing the field and international dissemination and OBM are like big passions of mine. And that's where I feel like I really align well with Webster. And so I'm really happy to be able to launch these programs because I think that these are like very exciting things that we're able to do. So you can go ahead to the next one. All right, this is another switch over to virtual. So
Can you hear me? I think I could not hear anything you said, Dani, so I don't know what just happened.
We missed that last part, but we can hear you online. I can hear you.
Okay, perfect. Okay. Okay. And you can leave my picture up. I don't want to go on camera. My dog is running around the house, and there's a saying that behavior analysts have the worst pets, and I don't want to add to that stereotype. So I'm LaQuita Montgomery. I began my career in ABA at Auburn University, and I was actually an engineering major when I first got there, and I got up to my junior year in engineering. And after my second internship, I decided to switch to psychology because I kind of had a traumatic event at that internship. I was in charge of doing what they call time studies. So this is kind of how I saw ABA and OBM as part of what I later switched to. But a bunch of people that I was working with during that internship, their jobs were phased out. I had become really close with this little old lady, and she was so sweet, and they completely got rid of her job. The raise that people got that summer was like a dime. I was just devastated. I was like, this is too much. I can't work like this. So I switched to psychology, and I was planning to be a counselor. My mom was like, well, maybe you can counsel people that get fired from their jobs. And so I was like, oh yeah. But that no classes were available for me to take. So I just kind of ended up taking an ABA course because it was available, and it was a 5-credit course. And from the first day, the professor was amazing. He wasn't a behavior analyst. He just was interested in behavior science. But I just fell in love with it, and I felt like it was where I was supposed to be. It made sense to me. And I really felt like it was so applicable to so many different situations. So I always say wherever there's people, there's behavior analysis. And I'm very excited to see Webster adding OBM to the program. I think it's such a wonderful and exciting avenue to take. I have been in the field for a while, so to see it grow as it is just very exciting, and I'm glad I can continue to work with Webster. So I look forward to meeting any of the new students in the fall, I believe.
teaches in both the master's, the grad certificate, and the OBM certificate program. So you will all meet her. Awesome. Let's give her. All right. Oh, Sierra, it's you. Come on up.
Hello, I'm Sierra. I am actually an alum of Webster University, so I received my bachelor's in special education and my master's in special education with an emphasis in severe developmental disabilities and autism from Webster. So I started my career as a special education teacher. So I had a specialized program for students on the autism spectrum. And I did that for 6 years, and I worked very closely with a lot of BCBAs in my classroom. And I was like, wait, I want to know what they know. I want to be able to do what they can do. So then I went and pursued an advanced graduate certificate in applied behavior analysis and became a BCBA. And so I've worked with kiddos as young as 2, children through adults. I've worked in home settings, obviously school settings. Currently work in a clinical setting as a BCBA. And I have been an adjunct faculty member, I want to say, in the Department of Teacher Education here at Webster University, coming up on 5 years, teaching courses in both special education and applied behavior analysis. And I'm happy to be part of the team and super, super excited for this awesome new program and certificate that Dr. Dani has been working so hard on. So nice to see you all.
Take it away.
Hi, I'm Madison. I got my undergraduate degree in Communication and Sciences and Disorders from Missouri State University. I was absolutely determined that I was going to be a speech pathologist, and then I got a job as an RBT my senior year, and very quickly learned that that was not what I wanted to do anymore, and that I wanted to be a BCBA. So I, instead of applying for FLP grad schools, I immediately started applying for ABA programs. And since then I've been an RBT and a BCBA through schools and clinics, in-home with adults and littles and all of the above, everything in between. So this will be my first year adjuncting for Webster, and I'm really excited to get started with the program.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Bryant Antoine. Before I start talking about my education and all that, I wanted to talk about whose I am. I am the proud son of Haitian immigrants. My family immigrated from Haiti in '78. I was born in Brooklyn, grew up in Boston, where I got my undergrad in psychology at Suffolk University. Not a lot of people know what Suffolk University is, but that's where I went. But yeah, I moved to St. Louis in 2016, where I started my graduate program in ABA and social work at SLU. And since then, I've been a behavior analyst for 6 years now, almost. I currently work with the adult population, right, mainly. That's usually kind of like my wheelhouse. I've always done that. But outside of that work, I also run a nonprofit that I helped start that was created with a friend and fellow classmate at SLU. The organization is called The Village Path. What we do is provide Black men with free mental health services and spaces in the St. Louis area. And so I'm very fascinated with organizations and how they work. It's what I have to do. I'm like the logistics person. Someone's like, hey, I have this cool new idea. I'm the one that has to think about how it's gonna work, right? And all the pieces that go into it and who it involves. And so I'm really excited to be a part of this OBM program because it'll be great.
Me again. I'm Maddline Burke. I am a BCBA. I have 2 undergrad degrees, one's in communication disorders. Took a very similar path as an RBT my senior year and decided that's what I wanted to do. Yes. Then I also ended up getting an undergrad in psychology, actually after I got my master's. psychologist. But then I got into the OBM world and have been doing that for 3 years and have absolutely loved it. It's completely my jam, so I'm really excited to be a part of this Webster program, to see what all we can do and how we can change the world with OBM, especially in this area.
Stephanie, so Stephanie can introduce herself.
You don't have to go back to the picture.
She's going back to your picture.
Okay. Hi, everybody. Welcome. I'm sorry I'm late. Dr. Tran and I were actually at another recruiting event. So it's nice to see you all here and welcome to our space. I'm the interim dean of the School of Education. I am not a BCBA, but I am a special education teacher and have expertise in severe disabilities and teacher preparation. And I could talk to you about my credentials, but I'd really like to talk to you about the School of Ed in general and the nature of the work that we do with our students. I think this new certificate and obviously the graduate degree is a perfect example of how we are continually trying to push forward into the status of the profession, what the profession needs, what are the next steps, and that kind of innovation is sort of in our DNA. School of Ed has a long history of special education in general. We are 30 plus years of having a special education master's degree of some sort and have a long legacy of inclusion and advocacy for individuals with special needs. I just met somebody at my other event that graduated the same year that I did with my master's in special ed from Webster, the best teacher I ever had in my entire life, who changed the way that I see the world and how I support individuals with disabilities. Dr. Victoria McMullen, who taught a lot of us here, taught me here, and I've returned to this space because of the wonderful work that it does. I think there are 3 tenets that guide the work that we do as a school, whether we're teaching students in person or whether we're teaching them online, and we take this very seriously. We teach teachers about teaching by teaching. We do not phone in our pedagogy and community with each other, whether that is online and from afar, or whether that is here in our midst. And we teach teachers to change the world. We take all of that. That's not Pollyanna, that's real. And so we welcome you to our space. We're excited that you're here. And we look forward to the path that this program and this certificate are going to take. So thank you.
Right, you can jump back ahead then. Okay, so now we're going to spend some time actually talking about our programs. And if you guys have questions, you're free to interrupt and just ask. And if anybody asks online, Lindsay, you can just shout them out, okay? All right, so we can move on to the next slide. Our first program that we have is just our general MA and ABA. So this is our master's program. It's 33 credit hours. It's for students who don't have a master's degree who want to become BCBAs. And also have a job. They're online, they're asynchronous, 1 course at a time, and we're currently in the process of getting ABAI recognition and accreditation, which means that we won't have to worry about that new rule they have that after 2032, those degrees don't count anymore. So we're in the process of having our accreditation, and so we'll be fully in line with all of the new ABAI requirements. Go on to the next one. So these are the courses that you'll have to take, and I'm not going to spend a ton of time on this, but I wanted to make sure that everybody kind of had this. So you'll start off with an intro course that just kind of goes through the basics of behavior analysis. Then you'll go into principles of behavior analysis. You'll have a single subject research design class that teaches you about research designs as well as graphing and data. And then you'll have an ethics class. You'll also have a behavior change procedures class, a functional assessment. Then you'll have a basic experimental analysis of behavior, which is an introduction to like lab studies, as well as verbal behavior. And to meet the ABAI requirements, we do have a thesis. You'll take that for 2 semesters. And so it's 2 16-week full semesters, but it won't be like a class. It's just doing research. And you'll be able to do that research either with Webster students or at your work. So you can do that however works best for you. We also have a portfolio review, which sounds scary, but is not scary. It's just where you're preparing a portfolio of some sample work. So like when you graduate, you can go get a job, have actual like work to go show people. So those are the overall courses. You can go on to the next one, Lindsay. And this is what that program of study looks like. So like I said, you're just taking one class at a time and you're done in less than 2 years. So it's easy, it's nicely mapped out. And if you did need to rearrange something, it's pretty easy to rearrange as well. Next one. So we also have a graduate certificate in ABA. It is 21 credit hours, so you're essentially removing that thesis as well as verbal behavior and the experimental lab class. And this could be done while if you already have a master's degree or if you were getting a different master's degree. In order to do this, you have to test before 2032 because that's when the new requirements come in place and they no longer allow graduate certificates. So these are all 8-week courses, one at a time, online, asynchronous. And this is just a little over a year. So this is what that program would look like. Then we have our graduate certificate in ABA and OBM that we've talked a little bit about so far. So that starts off, that's 18 credit hours. That starts off with Intro to ABA. And then you have your Intro to Organizational Behavior Analysis. And you also then have your Behavior Analytic Performance and Supervision, followed by Behavioral Systems Analysis, OBM in Action, and then in Applied class. And so this is for students who already have some background in ABA. You wouldn't want to start this without kind of knowing what ABA is because you might be a little overwhelmed. You would need to have your bachelor's degree. It could be done post-master's or during the course of another master's degree. Again, all the classes, 8 weeks, online, asynchronous, one at a time. Okay? There is a topics course that could be subbed in if you've already taken one of these courses somewhere else, because I know sometimes people have already taken one of these with their master's. So what these classes kind of look like, and if any of you OBM faculty want to jump in, you're totally welcome to. But our intros class is just going to be that basic introduction. And then our intro to OBM is going to be the introduction to the field of OBM and how we apply the principles. Our behavior analytic performance and supervision is talking about effectively managing and improving individual and organizational performance using behavior analysis. Then our behavioral systems analysis is going to be kind of exploring that behavior systems theory and its practical applications in various settings. Our OBM in action is going to be thinking about the practical applications in business settings. And then our final course is actually going to be an application class where each student will work on a project tailored directly to their workplace, allowing you to actually apply OBM concepts to address specific challenges within your workplace or organization. And this is the program of study. It is just 1 year, guys. It's two classes or 3, depending on if you have that intro to ABA or if you're going to do a topics class, which we can move around, and then 2 classes, and then your summer class. So just 1 year. We also have our accelerated pathway. This is for undergrads. So if you are an RBT and you're watching this and you're like, I really want to be a BCBA, but I have to get a bachelor's degree and I'm just going to get a bachelor's degree in something because I need a bachelor's degree. This is something that you can do. So this is an accelerated pathway that allows you to take 9 credit hours towards your master's during your junior and senior year of undergrad. So you're able to kind of get there quicker. Also, as soon as you start that first grad class, you're able to start accruing your fieldwork hours. So you could start accruing those hours much sooner and be able to become a BCBA faster. Again, these classes, 8 weeks online. So. And then coming soon, this one's not officially out, but we're working on it. Dr. Basir and I have been working hard on this one, is a minor in ABA that we have. And so this would be a minor that would allow people to sit for the BCBA exam. So again, if you're an undergrad and you're like, grad school sounds scary and I don't really want to do that. This would allow you to get a minor in ABA and then sit for your BCBA exam. And you would just have to do an 18 credit hour minor that would allow you to sit for that exam as well.
It's amazing. That's really cool. Wow.
So that's our coming soon. So now Felicia, it's your turn. Take it away.
Hi, my name is Felicia Cohen, and I'm thrilled to know most of the people in the room. I really have probably one of the greatest jobs in that I try to work with different corporations to try to, so going to school is not half of the paycheck. So I work with Hopebridge and Mercy and Central School District, and we either your tuition discount, or if you don't have a tuition discount, we will work with organizations. And then in turn, when you come here, we give a 20% discount so we could make on tuition, so then we could make your path to becoming whatever you want a reality. So I feel like I'm an honorary education. I've met most of everybody at the APBS and through various meetings. And if you're interested in a corporate partnership and you know, just come and talk to me, you can put it in the chat, like my email, and let me see if I can work with you to help you get where you need to go. So thank you.
All right, so now it is time. You can go on to the next slide, Lindsay. For thank you and questions. So if anybody has any questions, they can throw them in the chat, Lindsay, for us. I know people don't always like their questions recorded, so if they want to send them directly, they're totally welcome to. But also, this is my email address, guys, and you can just email me like directly, and then I can send you to the correct person. So even if you have a question about like financial aid or a question about, I don't know, admissions or whatever, I can find the right person for you. So feel free to just email me and then I can send it over. All right, thank you, everybody. And then everybody here in person, go eat all those snacks, okay? That's the rest of your job.